everyone. Welcome to the fourth session of Cooking with Carreno and Chin. And tonight our theme is beans and nuts. So we're so glad that you could join us. We've enjoyed doing these, and we're trying to have a surprise for you tonight for both Michelle and I to be here, but we had some logistical issues. But we're both here tonight. Here in my home in Columbia, Maryland, and Michelle in her home in Washington, D.C. So we're going to start out with a quick poll. So Wes, if you can put up the poll that asks, how many sessions of this class have you attended?
All right, so far for the ones that we have in here, we got almost everybody's been here. Nope, everyone's been here either 3 or 4 weeks, and they're about even.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Wes. I also do have to do a special thank you to Wesley. One of the reasons that we ran a little late tonight is Wesley's been tutoring for the last 3 hours, and his last tutoring session, he tutors high school kids, ended right at 7. So thank you very much, Wesley, as usual. Tonight we will do 4 recipes, and if we have time, we've got a bonus recipe as well. So our recipes tonight are for an appetizer, smoked almond carrot pate; for salad, creamy bean salad; for our entree, vegetarian burger; and for our dessert, granola bars. So you don't usually think of granola bars as a dessert, but you will these. Okay, just as a reminder, as always, if you have any questions during my presentation or Michelle's presentation, put the questions in the chat, and Wesley will share those with us. Okay, so for tonight, I'm going to start with my entree with the veggie burgers, because I'm actually going to make them in real time. They're not pre-made. They take about 30 minutes to bake. So we'll do that one first, get them in the oven, and then by the end of our class, they should be ready. And I can show you 3 different ways to use them. All right, so with that, let's get started. Okay, now these are vegan, and to make a veggie burger, you have to have something that binds everything together. And normally in most recipes, that is eggs that serves that purpose. In this recipe, we're going to use flax meal. And if you mix flax meal with water, it creates an egg substitute. It gets thick and sticky and can hold things together. So I'm going to run over to the sink and get 1/3 cup of warm water first. Never realize how long it takes for the water to get warm until you're on video waiting. All right, you got it. All right, 1/3 cup of warm water, and then we're going to put in 3 tablespoons of ground flax meal. And you can get this really anywhere. I actually got mine at Food Lion. So 3 tablespoons and 1/3 cup of water. By the way, if any of you printed out the recipe when I first sent it out, I was missing a few steps, and so I edited it today. So if you go onto Google Docs, you'll see the right version now. Okay, so I'm just going to stir this, and then we're just going to let it sit while we do the rest of the ingredients. Okay, all right, that's it for that. So we'll just set that aside. Okay, now what we're going to do, I'm going to get a big bowl, because we're going to put all the ingredients in this big bowl here. The first thing I'm going to put in here is a can of black beans, which I have already rinsed and drained. Just show you my can here. Just some Goya black beans, doesn't matter what brand, any brand. If you prefer dried beans, you can do that as well. In fact, that's my second poll question, Wes, if you want to put up on the screen, is when you cook with beans, do you prefer canned or dry? Let's see what the cooks in this class prefer. And then I'll tell you my preference.
Most everyone chose canned beans. Only a single person decided they like dry beans better. Oh, never mind.
Okay.
You know that like dry beans.
Huh? Two?
Two. Yep.
Two. Okay. All right. So thank you. My preference is dry beans, but it has nothing to do with flavor or nutrition or anything. It really just has to do with the amount of space that it takes up. So dry beans take up a lot less space. I can stick them in storage containers. So that's why I like to use them. I do have an electric pressure cooker called a one pot, so it makes cooking dry beans really easy. You don't have to soak them or anything, and even garbanzos in about an hour and a half go from dry and hard to completely buttery soft. And if any of you have cooked with dry garbanzos, they take a really long time to get soft. But for tonight, I'm using the canned beans. So put the can of black beans in the bowl, and the first thing you're going to do is just take a potato masher and mash them. And what you're trying to do here is get them maybe, I'll say 80% mashed. Okay, so you want to make somewhat of a paste, but also have some beans that are still whole, so you have some nice texture in the burgers. Okay. I think that is good. Let me stick that aside for a second. And the next ingredient we're going to work with is a sweet potato. So this is just a plain old regular yam, orange sweet potato. I did peel it, and it's not cooked, it's raw, and I've grated it. So I've done most of the grating because I didn't want you to have to sit here and watch me grate for 5 minutes solid, but I'll just do a little bit more so you can get a sense of what I'm doing here. So I'm just using a normal box grater here. I've got the potato in my hand, and I am grating a cup. So earlier I got almost to a cup. I just thought I'd do a little bit more so you can see the method here. And I find that if I just kind of move it around and turn it, just goes a little faster so you don't end up just grating in the grooves. All right, and so I've got my cup here. And there we go. 1 cup of grated sweet potato, raw. That in the sink. Add that to our bowl. Okay. Next ingredient is some parsley. Now, I just love the smell of fresh herbs. Parsley and basil and cilantro, I love. This is calling for 1/3 of a cup. I'm really not too picky. I don't tend to measure too much when it comes to herbs. So I'm going to use that much. And then I'm going to chop it pretty fine. And you may recall last time we did something with parsley, you can use the stems. It's perfectly fine. Just chop them very, very small. And this, and you do want to chop this small because you don't really want a burger that has a big leaf in it. So the parsley adds flavor and also some nice color to it as well. Okay, so we'll say that's 1/3 of a cup, close enough. And I'm going to pick all that up, dump it in my bowl, and then go on to our next ingredient, which is the garlic. So I've got 2 cloves here. My little trick, I just kind of put the heel of my hand on there, press it down, and that will loosen the skin. And for this, I'm going to use my garlic press so that the pieces get very, very small for the burger. I just think that's better. And then the flavor will incorporate throughout the whole burger. All right, so I've got my 2 cloves here. Stick them in my giant OXO press, which I love because it can hold so much. All right, and that's it. Squeeze and done. Wipe that off. Okay, that's our garlic. Next ingredient is an onion. It says 1/2 cup of onion. So what I'm going to do, again, not measuring, and honestly, with this type of recipe, any type of recipe that uses lots of ingredients. It's kind of like a casserole, if you will. The measurements doesn't matter if they're not exact. So now again, you want to chop these pretty small so that they can cook and the flavors can get throughout the burger. By the way, one tip I want to share with you, if you ever want to cook sauteed onions as a topping, which is what we're going to do, I'll show you later, cut vertically like I just did. Don't cut horizontally. And the reason is when you cut this way, the onions tend to get a little slimy versus if you cut this way, they don't. Okay. So again, if you're doing a recipe where you're using larger pieces of onion and you want to do a topping of sauteed onion, always go the vertical. All right, one more here. My kitchen smells like parsley. By the way, you might have noticed I used flat leaf parsley, also known as Italian parsley, which is different than the curly leaf parsley. I don't really know how to describe the difference. The flat leaf just seems a little more mellow to me. And so it's just my preference is the flat leaf. Okay, now next ingredient, chopped walnuts. So let me tell you my tip about nuts. So I buy these giant bags at BJ's, Costco, Sam's Club. And if it's a nut that has a lot of oil or high oil content, it can go rancid if you don't use them in time. And with a big bag like this, it may take me months and months before I use it. So the trick is to store them in your freezer. And you don't need to thaw or anything when you're cooking with them. Just bring them out frozen, put them in the recipe frozen, stick them back in the freezer, and they will stay fresh a really, really long time. So I am doing a half a cup here of chopped walnuts. Okay. Next ingredient. Now in the recipe, it also says you can do walnuts or sunflower seeds. I've made it both ways. My taste preference is the walnuts. Okay, next is oats. So what I've got here is old-fashioned oats, not quick oats, just kind of regular old-fashioned oats. And I'm doing three quarters of a cup. So that's half and half of half. The next ingredient is almond flour. Now this is an alternative you can use if you want to do it gluten-free. If the gluten is fine for you, you can use.
Wait a second. Is he same function because Jesus is sending him? So does that mean that he's less than? It was
what happened there?
Great research out there. Very, very interesting.
Okay, sorry for that.
Just a reminder to everyone, could you please stay on mute? I thought I had it checked where I would not allow you to unmute yourself, but I will change that now. My apologies.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so what I was saying is if you want a gluten-free option, which is what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to use almond flour, which I have in here. If gluten is fine, you can just get plain old inexpensive breadcrumbs. This actually is Food Lion breadcrumbs. Is perfectly fine. Okay, so either one, it won't make a difference. All right, so half a cup of the almond meal. Put that in there. Sorry, my bowl is over here. Okay, now we're going to put in the seasonings. So we're going to start with olive oil. Now, the recipe calls for 1 tablespoon, but when I've made it, I actually prefer 2, just to give it a little more fat. So I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of oil. Okay, and then I'm doing 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. Now, as I open this soy sauce, I am actually just about out of soy sauce. And I think I might have just enough. Now, if I were not using my phone at the moment, Just trying to think. I don't want to put it all in there. I think there's like a teaspoon left. If I was not using my phone at this moment, as soon as something empties or is close to empty, I go into my phone and I have this app called AnyList that I keep track of anything I need to buy when I'm thinking of it. And I just love this app. I've been using it for about 8 months, and it does shopping lists and recipes and meal planning. And if anyone's interested, I will be happy to show it to you at the end of the class. It's made my life very, very happy and very easy to go shopping, food shopping. Okay, that's the olive oil and the soy sauce. All right, now some seasonings here. I've got chili powder, oregano, and cumin. And I'm doing a teaspoon of each. So we've got the chili powder, got the oregano, and we've got the cumin. And then a teaspoon of salt and some black pepper. And then we will add that flax meal. Hold everything together. All right, that's the pepper. And then let me just show you what the flax meal has turned into. Basically, it's kind of turned into this paste, you can see. So I'm going to put that in, and that will help hold everything together. Okay, so I'm going to get a spoon here, mix everything up, and then we will form them into patties. And we're going to use our 1/2 cup measuring cup to size out the patties. And I'm going to show you a little trick that we do here at our house with these. You just want to keep stirring and kind of pressing until it feels like the stuff is kind of sticking together. You know, I haven't tried it as a casserole. That might be an interesting thing. Just stick it in like a 8x8 pan, bake it. Might try that next time. But tonight I want to show you the burgers. So let me go grab my pan. And I've got a cookie sheet here with a piece of parchment paper. Okay. So this recipe makes 8 burgers. So I'm going to use my 1/2 cup measuring cup here, measure out 1/2 cup, and then form it into a patty. Actually, when you use that cup, it's like almost done. That's it. Okay. Look how cute that looks. All right. Do another one. Put it down. Okay, so perfect size for putting in a hamburger bun. Now, I want to show you one thing. The reality is at our house, we don't usually have hamburger buns unless we're having a party, a summer party or grill. What we usually have is we buy the Pepperidge Farm or Arnold bread, which is kind of a larger size bread. And so the first time I made these, I didn't have buns. And so I'm making sandwiches with the bread. But you can see that if you have a round patty and a square piece of bread, that there's edges of bread without patty. So I thought to myself, well, why does it need to be in a round shape? So what I did the second time I made these is I again took the 1/2 cup, but this time just a little bit more, kind of a heaping 1/2 cup. And I stuck it down on the tray and I just kind of patted it until it was kind of the shape and size of the bread. And then that way, when it's cooked, we can have a sandwich instead of a burger. So that's the veggie burger. I'm going to stick it in the oven. These go in at 350, 15 minutes each side. So I'll set the timer for 15, flip them, 15 more. And then at the end, obviously you can eat this as a burger or a sandwich, but at the end, I'm going to show you another option for eating it as a dinner entree. Okay, so with that, I will turn it over to Michelle.
Wait, stopping real quick.
Oh.
couple questions.
Yes, yes, questions. I love questions.
First question was actually from Jackie about our first week where we talked about taking ginger and you could freeze store it. She
Yes.
wanted to know what was the best way to put it into little ice cube trays. Should you chop it, smash it, grate it, blend it? Which is the best way to freeze it?
Okay, so you can do two things. Let me wash my hands real quick so I can show you. Okay, first thing is you can, if you just have a little bit to do, you can use a microplane. I can put this under the camera here, Wes, if you want to show that. Okay, you can use a microplane. But if you're doing a large batch, if you want to do a whole bunch and be set for a while, use a food processor. So peel the ginger, kind of cut it up into smaller chunks, throw them in the food processor and blend it until it, it breaks down, and then stick them in the ice cube tray. Good question.
Awesome, thank you. Another one comes from Joyce, which is, could you substitute any other kind of bean like pinto beans for the black beans? And
oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes. Any bean you like, frankly, would work just fine. Definitely.
also, do you leave the sunflower seeds whole or do you chop them in a blender?
When I made them before, I left them whole. It's an interesting question because I think maybe part of the reason I didn't like it as much is, that texture and that full taste. It might have been pretty good actually in a blender. That's a good suggestion.
All right. Well, Joyce, when you make it, you got to take a picture of the blended sunflower seeds and send it to us.
Yes, and the pinto beans.
Exactly. And then another question was, when you were grating the sweet potato, would it have been easier or not as easy to use a food processor instead?
Yeah, you definitely could have. The only reason for this, I do the grater, is just to pull out the food processor and the blades and everything, just to do 1 cup of the sweet potato. I just figure it's just as easy. It takes, I don't know if it's quicker, it seems quicker. But if I was doing more, if I was doing a larger, like double or triple recipe, then yes, I would pull out the food processor with the grating blade.
All right. And that will do it for the questions. Thank you very much. Michelle, we'll turn it over to you.
Great. Well, it's good to see everybody. And I would like to share my screen.
Oh, my apologies. 1 second. Give it a shot now.
Okay. Great. All right. So I'm going to do the creamy bean salad now. And I'll go through. All right, so this is a creamy bean salad with garlic toast. And it is a long list of ingredients, but it comes together pretty quickly. So here are the ingredients. So we're making a dressing and the salad, and then we're making some garlic toast. So we have, we'll start with the dressing. So we're using, for the dressing, we're using a box of silken tofu, a half cup of roasted red peppers, a teaspoon of capers, a quarter of a sweet onion, a clove of garlic, a tablespoon of lemon juice, or I just had lime juice, so that's what I use, and a tablespoon of vinegar. And then we also have a half teaspoon to teaspoon of thyme, dried thyme, or if you have fresh thyme, I ended up using like about a tablespoon of the fresh thyme. So you would use less if you were using dried. And so that's the dressing. So you, I'm sorry, and a half teaspoon of dried mustard powder. If you don't have mustard powder, you could probably use the equivalent of just the yellow mustard. So you put it all in a vessel and blend it. I used an immersion. I decided to switch it up today, so I used an immersion blender. I just put everything in a container and then zip, blend it in until it's smooth. I actually have a little video. And that's where I fritz the I had to reset the socket. So anyway, you get the idea. You blend the dressing, and then taste it and see if it needs a little more acid. You might add a little more lemon juice or salt. I forgot to say that there is 3/4 to a teaspoon of salt in this. And if you want heat, you can add some red pepper as well. I didn't add any heat to this this time. So the salad ingredients now are a can of cannellini beans, rinsed and dry, just rinsed, drained and rinsed. A bag of edamame, so it's about a cup and a half or 2 cups. A bag of sweet corn, about 1.5 to 2 cups of sweet corn. And then I realized I had said 1 cup of orzo cooked. And what I meant was 1 cup of dry orzo, and then you boil it. So it ends up being quite a bit more than a cup of cooked orzo. So what I did was I wanted to kind of cook the edamame through just a little bit. And so while the water for the orzo was boiling, I threw in the, when it was boiling, I threw in the edamame and let them sit for about a minute, and then scoop them out, put them in a bowl. And then I boiled the orzo. The orzo takes about 7 to 9 minutes to boil. So you just boil it in some salted water, and then drain it. When it comes out, just toss it with a little bit of olive oil so it doesn't stick together. And then to kind of stop the cooking process, I added the frozen corn. So you have the kind of blanched edamame and the frozen corn and the hot orzo, and you just you put it in a bowl with the beans, and then everything kind of comes to a nice room temperature. So then I added a little extra parsley and onions and the basil that I had. So the recipe calls for basil, fresh basil, and I had basil, but it spoiled. So couldn't get any more. So I just added some parsley, and I decided I wanted a little bit of onion. I like onions in my salad, so if you don't like onions, you can keep, they're not in the recipe, so I was just adding extra. And then a 1/2 cup of chopped celery. So you get a little bit of crunch there. So you can add more herbs if you like, more onions. So stir that up. You add the dressing, and there it is. So we let that sit for a minute while we make our garlic toast. So the garlic toasts are really easy. Here I'm just showing you I have 2 slices of a sourdough whole wheat bread, but you can use a sourdough bread, Italian bread. You can toast it in the toaster. Don't put any oil on it if you're putting it in the toaster. But what I did was I put this in the oven. So I drizzle a little bit of both sides of the bread.
Michelle,
Yes.
I'm going to mute you for a quick sec. Something's wrong with your mic. All right, go ahead, try again.
Okay. Did I lose you?
No, we're good. You just sounded pretty robotic-y. We're good now.
Oh, okay. Well, That's me. I'm a robot. um, so I just drizzled a little bit of olive oil on both sides of the bread and put it in a 375-degree oven for about 10 minutes, and then these were kind of thickly sliced, so you just watch the bread and make sure that it doesn't burn. But I wanted it kind of crisp, so I turned the bread over, and you know, I had both sides kind of crunchy. So it's to your taste. If you know, some people like crusty bread, other people don't like it too tough or too hard. So it's up to you. So once it's done, you take a fresh clove of garlic and you just rub the garlic over the toast. And the bread is kind of rough, and so the recipe calls for 1 to 2 cloves of garlic for about 8 slices of bread. It depends. If you like a lot of garlic like I do, I used half a clove of garlic on 1 slice of bread.
Michelle, we lost you again. Hold on. Let's try to mute and unmute.
Okay.
All right.
Back?
There you're back.
Okay. So you just rub the garlic over the raw garlic over the toast, and then you're ready. If you want to sprinkle a little salt, you can. So then to put it all together, I like to serve it on. You can serve it individually with lettuce. Put the salad on a lettuce leaf, and the garlic toast on the side. But this is actually kind of a complete meal because you've got a protein, you've got the veggies, and you have the starch. So my mother, the dietitian, I think would approve. Any questions?
We do not have any questions in here, but I just want to say that is my favorite little presentation with the salad in the leaf. That looks awesome.
I'm going to have a little taste right now. Yum.
All right, awesome. We'll turn it back over to Lisa then. Thank you, Michelle.
I'll have to agree with Wes, Michelle. That presentation was gorgeous. I loved it in the little lettuce leaf that looked like a boat. Really nice. Okay, so our next thing is we're going to make granola bars, which we tagged as a dessert, also a wonderful snack, but they really are sweet and flavorful for a dessert, and actually not too difficult to make. So before I start, though, we've got one more poll we want to put up there. Since our theme tonight is beans and nuts, we asked you a question about beans earlier. So now we have a question about nuts. So here's a list of some nuts. Which kind is your favorite?
This poll might take a little longer because people have to read about, 10 options? All right, so far we have a 3-way tie between almond, cashew, and pistachio.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. All right, it looks like every single person chose a different nut. The only one is cashew has 2 and Brazil has none. Sorry, Brazil.
And all the others have 1?
Yes, everything else is 1, split across the board except cashew.
Okay, all right, good. So then that means we'll have a good chance that you'll like these granola bars because we are using 4 types of nuts. Okay, so the recipe is pretty simple. It's a half a cup of each of pecans, almonds, walnuts, and cashews. Now the trick is you do want them to be chopped because you'll see later when we cut up the granola bars, if the nuts are too big, the granola bars won't stay together very well. So you want them smaller. So let me show you. I have a couple that I purchased already chopped and a couple that I will chop. So here is a box of pecans. It's called pecan pieces. I'll put it under the camera so you can see the size. Okay, so if you have whole pecans or larger pieces, you can just chop it up yourself. But for me, I'm okay with this. So we'll do half a cup there. And then I'm going to use that same bag of walnuts that I had used for the burgers. Put them up here. Again, these are chopped walnuts, already chopped. So half a cup of these goes in the bowl. All right, now the cashews and the almonds I want to chop up a little bit. So let me kind of show you the size that we want there. So here I've got whole raw almonds, and you want them raw. You don't want them roasted or salted or anything, okay? Just raw almonds. And we're gonna take a guess here. And we're just kind of doing a rough chop. So they don't have to get real small, but you just want them somewhat similar size to the other nuts. So the goal here is to chop all the nuts so they're about the same size. And I think hand chopping is the better way to go here, because if you put them in a food processor, it's too easy to get nut meal instead of ground nuts or nut sand. You know, we'll get the texture of coarse sand. All right, let's see if I've got a half a cup here. I think I'll do them all. Almonds are one of those nuts that you actually, it's fine to keep in the cupboard. They'll last a very long time because they are a low oil content. So they don't go rancid. Whereas walnuts and pecans have a higher oil content and will go rancid if you keep them in the cupboard for too long. All right, and the last one is the cashews. Where did I put the cashews? Here are the cashews. Cashews are my new favorite nut because you can do so many things with them. You can make cream and milk with them. All right, so I've got whole cashews here. Actually, you can buy cashew pieces as well, but I've got whole. So I'm just gonna chop them up similar to how I did the almonds. And you see here the technique for chopping the nuts is a rocking motion. I'm holding the top of the knife down and then just rocking down. And that way that gives you control. You don't have to worry about cutting fingers. All right, there we go. See if we got half a cup here. Yep, good deal. All right, those are our 4 nuts. Now we've got some other fun ingredients to add to these granola bars. The next ingredient is coconut flakes. Now, this is not the type of coconut you would generally find in the baking aisle. Usually the coconut in the baking aisle is sweetened coconut. You want unsweetened coconut flakes. You can find them in a health food store. I'm not 100% sure if you can find them at, say, a Giant or a Safeway. Anyways, I got these at Living Well. So let me measure out the spoon here. And I'm going to measure out half a cup of this coconut, and then you can kind of see the texture here. Honestly, it kind of looks like little pieces of paper almost, like shredded paper. So it's very thin and it's not sweetened. All right, dump that in the bowl. So that's the coconut. The next ingredient is dried cranberries. Now, I'm almost out of dried cranberries and I want to save them for the Energy Bite recipe because they have to go in that. So I'm actually going to substitute raisins to show you, you can go raisins or craisins. And when I do the cranberries, I really like the dried cranberries, so I'll double it. Instead of a quarter of a cup, I'll put in half a cup. But for the raisins, I'm just gonna do the quarter cup. I'll do a generous quarter cup, how's that? All right, put those in there, a few more. Next ingredient is pumpkin seeds. I think you may remember these from our first class. We use them in the kale salad. And these are raw pumpkin seeds. Again, not toasted or salted or anything. We're going to put a 1/4 cup of those. So we're getting this wonderful bowl filled with really great ingredients. Then chia seeds. We use these the first week also to make that chia pudding. We're doing a tablespoon of chia seeds. This will, if you remember, one of the properties of chia seeds is when they get wet, they get sticky. So this is one of the ingredients that will help stick it together. All right, then 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Let me do the vanilla extract and then we'll do the maple syrup. Teaspoon of vanilla. And then the last ingredient is the ingredient that will make your entire house smell delicious. Whenever I make these and Mel or Wes come in the house, they're like, oh, what smells so good? When you take maple syrup and bake it, it smells delicious. So we are using 1/4 cup. And again, this is pure maple syrup, okay? Not log cabin syrup substitute, but like the Vermont maple syrup. Okay, so I'm going to do 1/4 cup here. Put that in. And that is it. So easy. Grab a spoon. And we're going to mix this. And it's not going to stick, okay? When you bake, it will stick. So the purpose of the mixing is just to make sure everything's coated with the syrup and that the salt and the vanilla got incorporated throughout. Okay, now the trick to baking these. Number 1, you have to have the right size pan. It has to be an 8x8 pan. Most recipes, if it says 8x8 or 9x9, you can kind of interchange them and it works just fine. But the reason you want to do this with 8x8 is that you want to get the granola bars so that they're the right thickness. And I know this because I figured the first time I make them, who cares, 8x8, 9x9. And all I had was a 9x9 and they came out too thin. So I went on Amazon and bought an 8x8. So I've got an 8x8 pan. And then the second trick is parchment paper. So I want to show you how to do that. So I'm going to put the pan under the camera and you can see I've laid down one piece of parchment paper. Okay. And now I'm going to show you so that you can see. I'm going to do a second piece the exact same way, going in the opposite direction. So I'm going to fold one end over. Then I'm going to measure the width of the pan. What have I got under here? Oh, my magnetic teaspoon is stuck to the bottom of the pan. Okay, and I'm just measuring here so I know where to fold it. Do the second fold. And now I'm going to stick it in the pan and just press it down and fold it over. So you see I've done 2. One going one way and then the other piece going the other way. And you want to do this so that you can pull the granola bars out. Now that's my timer, but I'm just going to let those burgers go a few minutes longer before I flip them. All right, I'm going to pour all this in the pan. Now, once you have it in the pan, very important that you tamp it down and get it even and flat. And you want to kind of make sure there aren't spaces. You know, these ingredients are kind of relatively big. And so if you see a little hole somewhere, just kind of move a nut over to fill that hole. It's not too difficult. That's it. All right. So it's all flat and beautiful. And then this goes in a 325 oven. So it's not too hot. For 25 minutes. And basically what's happening is the nuts are toasting a little bit and that syrup is getting thick. So I've already made a pan. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when it comes out. Okay. So I have pulled the parchment out of the pan. And now what I'm going to do is cut the granola bars. Pull the parchment off. How beautiful that is. Okay. And this is how I'm going to cut. This 8x8 will make 12 bars. So I'm going to go in half. And then in half again. And then in thirds. Okay. And then you've got a granola bar. Ta-da-da. And since Michelle is always eating, now I'm gonna eat. Oh, Wesley wants one. Oh, I shouldn't give you the one I ate. There you go. Okay, so like I said, these make a fun dessert. Actually, you can serve them with some fruit or a great snack. Stick them in a Ziploc bag and take them with you. Okay, with that, I'm going to hand it over to Michelle.
That looks amazing. Love it. Except I can't do, me personally, I can't do chia seeds, but you can substitute other things. So that just looks so delicious, Lisa. Thank you. All right. So I finished my salad. I'm moving on to the appetizer now. So we are going to make probably the easiest appetizer. This smoked almond carrot pate is super easy. All right, let me see if I can get this. Hold on a sec. So I have to tell you, so as you know by now, I like to not have to do a lot of work when it comes to cooking.
You're not sharing yet, just so you know.
Pardon?
You're not sharing yet.
So what I had done is I have these smoked almonds. I went to the store and I got a bag of the baby carrots. I actually had a shredded carrots, but I shopped too early and the carrots went bad. So I was stuck today without any carrots. So rushing around, I decided to go to Chopped and see if surely they have carrots and I could buy a side of carrots. And they do have carrots. They have rainbow carrots. So
Hey, Michelle, I'm sorry to cut you off. You're still not sharing your screen.
I know. I'm telling you the story.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you had pictures with the
story. No. I'm telling you the story of the preamble to my smoked almond carrot pate. So here is my carrots, my 4 little sides of carrots, chopped up already. They're yellow and purple carrots. So as you can imagine, this affects the color of my dip. But nevertheless, the basic recipe here is equal amounts of carrots and almonds. So I have a quarter of a sweet onion, about a cup and a half of carrots, and a cup and a half of smoked almonds, and 8 ounces of this non-dairy cream cheese. So this couldn't be easier. Use a food processor to blend the ingredients. I tried with a NutriBullet just to experiment. It doesn't work that well. So use a food processor. It'll work. It works perfectly with the food processor. And you blend it up, whiz it up, and it comes out. This looks like a purple monster. But serve it with veggies, serve it with bread. This is what it really looks like when you use regular carrots. So if you can see down here in this corner, this is the food fair. This is our smoked almond and carrot pate. And it's great with crackers, any kind of crackers. with the veggies. So here is my plate, and I'll give it a taste. It looks like it's made with beets. It's got that real purple color, which I have to say isn't honestly it's not terribly appetizing. So it's not bad. It's better with the regular carrots. So that's it. That's the carrot smoked almond carrot pate. I think this dip is probably going to find its way into a patty or a meatloaf. That will be its next incarnation. So, Lisa, back to you. If it's not too soon. If it is too soon, I actually have another very quick and easy bonus recipe that I didn't share with you.
Yes, do your bonus recipe. Awesome.
All right. So I saw this video on Facebook the other day of a very easy pumpkin muffin. So it was cake mix and pumpkin, and I think there might have been a liquid, non-dairy milk, and it turned out into a nice muffin. So I thought, what could I just sort of filed that away in my mind, and then I had 3 bananas that were going to be too ripe, and I was wondering what can I do with my bananas, and so I decided I'm going to try this experiment. So here's a very easy vegan chocolate banana pecan cake. So did you know that the cake mix is non-dairy? No dairy or eggs in it. So take a box of cake mix, a can of seltzer, and 3 bananas. And extra, if you want, but I added chocolate chips and pecans. So you mix it all up, mash the bananas in a bowl, add the cake mix and the seltzer, mix it together till it's blended. Pour the batter into a 9x13 pan or 9x11 pan, and then just sprinkle your chocolate chips and pecans across the top. Bake it for about 30 minutes in a 350 oven, and that's what it looks like. Comes out a little bit thin and very soft, and it tastes a very strong banana flavor. So if you like chocolate and banana, I do. This is a very easy snack cake. Questions?
We do have a comment from Carrie Ann. Carrie Ann, glad you could make it. She said it looks awesome, and I'm tending to agree. Michelle, do you have that ready for us to watch you eat and be jealous with?
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm using the pan as my stand for the computer. So.
Make do with what you got.
But I wish you all were here, because honestly, I can't eat this whole thing. And that's why I was hoping to get to the Carrenos tonight, but.
Oh, now we're even more sad.
I know. So anyway.
Quick question from Carrie Ann is, do you use the whole can of seltzer?
Yes. I used probably so it's a 12-ounce can. I used probably a cup, but then you just kind of see the batter. If it's too thick, then add more. So, and if you don't have enough bananas, like I had The bananas were kind of juicy, so that was the situation there. All right, so here is the cake, and if you want to see what it looks like, it just looks like a regular cake.
One more question from Joyce. Do you mind putting that recipe in the doc, the Google Doc, whenever you get a sec later on?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, Mom, we'll go back to you.
I think that recipe was the winner right there. Seriously, 3 ingredients and you can have chocolate cake and have it be vegan? Awesome. That is a really, really cool idea. I don't know that I've ever seen a cake made without eggs. And the bananas add that fat that normally you add oil for. Anyways, that's a great one. I agree with Joyce. Let's put that recipe up there. We'll add it to the Google Docs so everyone can see it. So tonight is double bonus night, and I'm gonna do the last recipe, which is also a bonus recipe. And these are called lemon craisin energy balls. And they are simple to make, no cooking, and they are just great as a snack. You keep them in the fridge, grab one whenever you just have a little hunger and want a little bite. And they're a little bit sweet, which satisfies that sweet craving as well. So we're gonna use a food processor. We're going to start with 2 cups of dates soaked until soft. So these are just plain old pitted dates. I have poured hot water over them about 3 hours ago, and they've just been sitting. I'm going to drain the water off and throw the dates now in the food processor. You can see those there. All right, that's the dates. The next ingredient is our oats again, which we use in the burgers. Again, old-fashioned oats, not the quick oats. And we're going to do 2 cups. 2 cups of oats. Then we're going to do 1/2 cup of coconut. And again, we're using that same flaked coconut that we used in the granola bars. 1/2 cup here. These energy balls only have 5 ingredients and all pretty easy except the lemon zest. That one takes a little elbow grease. All right, that's the coconut. Remember I told you I was running out of craisins and I really wanted them for this recipe. So I need 2/3 cup of craisins, and I'm just gonna put a little extra in. That's more like 3/4, but that's all right. All right, so now I would go to my AnyList app and add craisins there. Okay, and then the last ingredient is lemon zest. So I've gone ahead and zested 2.5 lemons. I'm just going to finish up the final one just so you can kind of see if you're not familiar or comfortable with zesting. It's pretty easy. The tool that you want is called a microplane, which you see I've got here. And you'll see I have zested this half already. So it's just enough to get that peel off. And you just rub back and forth. As soon as the white shows, move to a different spot. And the lemons won't go to waste. I'll use the lemons for some hummus that I'm gonna make, or any other dish or salad dressing that you might use lemon juice with, or lemonade, that works too. And if you don't need the lemons right away, just stick them in a Ziploc and they'll be good to go after that. All right, so that is 3 lemons of lemon zest, and we're going to put that in there. So that's all of our ingredients in the food processor. Now let me go to this side of the table here. Stick this on. We're just going to process it till it looks like coarse sand. Good. And you'll know that it's done when it starts to ball up. Let me show you what I mean. I'm dropping things. Okay, so it's starting to ball up. And this is all you do for this wonderful snack. Is you take a medium-sized scoop. I'm going to just show you about the size in my palm. I don't know the exact measurement, but that's the size. You scoop the mix and stick it in your hand and roll it in a ball. Okay, it'll be tacky, but what's interesting about these is you're going to stick them in the fridge for about an hour, and during that time, the oatmeal is going to absorb all the liquid from the dates and the liquid from the craisins, and, you know, frankly, even the liquid from the zest. And in an hour time, you can pick them up with your fingers and they won't be tacky anymore and they'll be firmer. Anyways, it's just a great snack. This recipe, I think, makes maybe about 20 of them. We usually eat a handful, and then I'll put them in a Tupperware on parchment paper. And if you want to do layers, you can do layers, just put a piece of parchment paper in between them. And then you've got a snack, an energy ball. So hope you enjoy that. Okay, now let me pull out the burgers.
Quick question before we move on to
yes,
Jackie. Can you substitute the oats with anything else in this?
I'm not sure. My gut is, I mean, never say no, but I can't think of anything. Because the oats is what's giving it body and also absorbing the liquid. If you can think of something that is absorbent, so it gets soft and can hold together, maybe. So anyways, if someone comes up with an idea, I'd love to hear it. All right, let me grab 30 seconds left. How's that for timing? Okay. Now I will have to tell you, these probably needed a little bit more moisture, so they're a little crumbly, but they will still taste wonderful. So I'm going to show you an entree option. Okay, so we'll take the burger, and actually they're good enough. They'd be good in a sandwich too. They'll hold together. All right, let me hold on, Wes. Let me move this out of the way. I'm going to show you, put something else under the camera. I want to show you something that I made earlier. So this is the topping I'm going to put on it. And this is how simple this was. I chopped up an onion, like I showed you before, with that vertical slice. I sauteed them in a little oil, added a little bit of salt to bring out the moisture. And then I added Food Lion vegetable broth. And then I added some cornstarch to thicken it up. And it makes this wonderful onion gravy. Now, it's a little thicker than normal because it's been sitting a while. And so for an entree, what you can do is take your burger and add some onion gravy on top, add vegetable and a piece of that garlic toast that Michelle made, and you've got yourself a nice meal. So that's it. So we're going to wrap up. I'm going to take it over to Michelle for her to share a few final words, and then I'll close it up. So Michelle, over to you.
Well, this has been an awesome experiment, and I've had a lot of fun cooking with you and sharing some of these tricks and learning kitchen tricks from Lisa has been really great. So we thank you all for spending time with us and for trying your take on these recipes. You know, cooking is iterative process, and it's such a social thing too. We cook because we want to share, and CMC is all about sharing. And so, in this COVID time, it's been great to have this time to check in with you all and to share. As a single cook, it's been challenging to have all this food around and not have anybody to eat it. So um, I wish you all the best, and if 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 you have ideas for the future, I think we'd love to do this again. Not right away, but we would love to do it again.
Thanks, Michelle. I want to pick up on something, the word you use, sharing. So I work in the telecommunications industry, and one of the companies I work with, based in Germany, their tagline in the telecom industry, which I find so interesting, is "Life is for sharing." And I just love that tagline. So I'm really glad you used the word sharing, because a big part of our life is cooking and eating and fellowshipping. And so it was really fun to share this aspect of our lives with you. So a few thoughts I wanted to leave with you is one thing I learned in this process, that cooking and doing a cooking class are completely different things. And, cooking, I will admit, comes natural to me. I learned it from my dad and my grandmother and my mother. And so when I'm in the kitchen, I'm not really thinking too much. I'm just doing. But to do a cooking class, you got to do a lot of thinking. And I didn't realize how much preparation is involved in your mind, going through every single ingredient, getting all the ingredients out, getting the proper measuring spoons and cups out, putting it in order, figuring out, okay, what needs to be prepped ahead of time versus, during the class. So it was a learning experience for me as well. But it really, the joy for me in this class, I enjoyed sharing with you. I'm happy to hear you enjoyed some of the tips that I've learned over the years. The thing that gave me the most joy in this process is when people would share with me that they made one of the recipes. So Jackie and CJ and Sylvia and Natalie and Rhonda all shared with me that they tried different dishes and enjoyed that. So that brought me great joy. So if, like Michelle said, if you are interested in doing some more, we'll think about it. Probably we'll take a little break for now. But for those of you who joined, we're so glad you did. And again, if we do it again, feel free to invite a friend, and feel free to share these recipe links with whoever you want. There's nothing proprietary about them. All the links are in the last email that I sent out on Sunday for each of the 4 classes. So please feel free to share those. So with that, we will close up our last class, Cooking with Carreno and Chin. And we wish you all a wonderful and healthy next weeks, months, until the end of the year. All right. Big loves and hugs. Bye-bye.